This is so weird. Okay. Oh, goodness. What a week. What a day.
I know. Oh, someone already wrote, looking forward to learning new skills.
This is a very different webinar, I think, for us. So I'll be interested to see how it does.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not as tactical, as some of these.
Yeah.
So
Wait, hold on, where is, I'm just looking for the link I need. I want to make sure. Okay, let's not talk anymore, and I'll give you the start in Slack.
Okay. Well, hello and welcome to everybody joining us here today. Thank you so much for joining us live. We are going to be talking about 7 social media trends you can't afford to miss in 2017. It is hard to believe that we are just a few short days away from a new year. I'm Rebecca Radice with Post Planner. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer, and we have a whole lot we're excited to share with you about the future of social media, what you can look forward to next year. And throughout this, we would love it if you would share, if you're active on Twitter, share anything we talk about here today. You can find Post Planner at Post Planner, and then myself at Rebecca Radice. And please use the hashtag PP, like Post Planner, live, LIVE. And we've got a really special giveaway for you if you're one of those people tweeting out there. And then we also have some a fantastic bonus for everybody just for being here today. So today, you're going to learn 7 social media trends that you need to leverage. Now, every single one of these, whether you're a personal brand, whether you're a small business, a local business, whether you're a big brand, every single one of these is something that you can leverage within your business. And I'm going to tell you why you can't afford to overlook these trends, why they're going to be so incredibly important in 2017. And then we're going to get into the nitty gritty. So, how to implement each of these trends into your business, and then simple ways that you can get started immediately. So as soon as we're done here today, you're going to have ideas that you can really implement right into your business. And as I said, you want to stick around until the end for that free surprise, and then an offer you cannot refuse. So let's go ahead and let's jump into our first trend. And this is a trend we've seen a lot of over the years, but definitely picked up steam. And the way you're going to be able to utilize this trend is a little bit different in 2017. And it's just crazy when you take a look at the social media landscape, how dramatically it has changed over just the last couple of years. But more than that, what it's going to look like over the next several years. So Salesforce found that by 2020, customers will manage 85% of their relationships with businesses without talking to a human. Pretty crazy to think, isn't it? That for some of us that come from a background of traditional marketing, it has always been that. It's been that one-on-one. It's been that, face-to-face. It's been that interaction. And more than that, customer experience by 2020 is said that it's going to overtake price and product as the key brand differentiators. So, it's without a doubt that consumer behavior has really shifted. And with that must go our tactics and our strategies. But I think the confusing part for so many still today is, all right, so that's great, but how do we capture that attention if those relationships with businesses are going to be just interactive online? How do we capture their attention, and how do we win that battle over their dollars? And that is getting that personalized experience is really going to come in. It's providing an intentional and very specifically designed experience during their decision-making process. And if you haven't considered exactly what that looks like, well, all you have to do is look around you, especially as we've just come through the Christmas season, the holiday season, to see what that personalized experience really feels like. So this is a sample ad, an example from Nordstrom, one of my favorite retailers, and it's because of that Nordstrom experience that they offer. And you can see here this ad I landed on their website. It said, let's get personal. And I could actually move away from the recommendations that they were just giving to everybody and anybody. And I could shop specific recommendations that were designed just for me. And 45% of online shoppers say that they are more likely to shop on a site that does exactly this, that offers personalized recommendations. So for you, it's going to be more important in 2017 as a company to get back to that feeling of a one-on-one marketing experience. So rather than casting a wider net, which I think we've talked a lot about in marketing previously and years before, where that hope was you could get your content, your message, your product in front of as many people as possible. Today, it's about getting the right message in front of the right people so that you can engage with them, you can connect with them by providing that relevant content at the exact right time. So understanding when there is a need, and then customizing your content. So similar to what Nordstrom did here, and customizing that content so that it speaks to their exact need. And of course, we've been seeing a lot of this within the social media world, but it's going to be incredibly important in 2017 that we really take that next step in personalization. So, 3 steps for you to implement this strategy or this idea. Step number 1 is to focus on the key moments of your buyer's journey. So really consider, how are consumers, how are customers getting to you? The way that our customers show up at our digital front door, very different today. And if you don't understand what those key moments are, and I'm going to talk a lot more about that and help you kind of strategize on what those key moments are, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to identify what it is that they're looking for. It's going to be very difficult for you to provide that information or that content. That's going to be step number 2, which is going to inspire them to buy what you're selling. So you really need to almost look over their shoulder. You need to get a sneak peek into who they are, what they do, why they do it, and then what they're looking for when they're looking for your product or service, so that you can begin to serve up that exact right content at that exact time. And then step number 3 for you is going to be meeting them where they're spending their time. And we've talked a lot about this in previous webinars about the idea of being everywhere and the idea of being on every single social platform. And we really push back on that whole idea. We would prefer that you focus on your strengths. So focus on those social networks that are truly supporting you. Look to your analytics. Take the time before you put together your entire 2017 strategy to analyze, has Facebook been your biggest supporter? Has Twitter, maybe Instagram? And does it make sense for you to continue on putting as much time and energy into those social networks as maybe you did in 2016? As we know, a successful strategy is an agile one. That means you're not just sitting hoping that the strategy that brought you to where you are today is the same one that's going to get you to where you want to go tomorrow. You have to continuously take a look at how things are performing. How are your Facebook posts performing? And that means everything from the type of content that you're sharing to the times that you're actually sharing that content at. So looking at your Facebook insights, looking at your Twitter analytics, going out to Google and identifying what type of content has really performed well for you. And then also, what type of devices are they using to interact with your company, to interact with you on these social networks or on your website or on your blog? Because that's going to be terribly important too as you go forward, as you start to create more content that is specifically designed maybe for people on those particular devices. And then beyond that, it's creating and really leveraging micro moments in all of those steps. And, if we haven't talked about micro moments in the past, or if you haven't heard about micro moments in the past, it really takes the importance of creating a personalized experience, what we were just discussing, to that next level. And much of that, as I said, comes from an ability to really understand what are those moments where your audience is turning to any search. Let's just say it's Google, and they are saying, I want to know, I want to go, I want to do, I want to buy. And they're researching your company or your competition. And it's in that moment where they're asking those questions, where they're deciding if they're going to go this way or that way, where you have that opportunity. You have that opportunity to really win that particular moment, win their hearts, win their minds, and bring them over to you as a new user or as a new buyer or a consumer, rather than having them meet, exactly their needs is found within your competition. So let me give you an idea what micro moments really mean to you and how you can find those micro moments within your own business. So we talked a little bit about the different devices, and mobile centric searches would be important to you because they're going to help you learn what your audience wants when they're using their smartphones. So you can go out and you can take a look at your analytics. So you can look at Google. You can ask your team. You can do your own research to really better understand how many searches are happening on mobile devices as opposed to desktop. You can also look at most popular questions, so that you can do this in a variety of ways to really better understand what is your audience asking, what are they looking for when they're coming to you. So if you have an internal sales team, you could maybe ask them to begin compiling that data so you could test and really identify what those popular questions are. What are the most frequently asked questions? If you've been marketing your business online for any amount of time, whether you're a consultant or an agency, you're a big brand, you've probably been answering those questions for quite a while, and that gives you a great opportunity to start creating content specifically designed to answer those questions. And some tools that we love to use at Post Planner is advanced Twitter search. If you haven't done an advanced Twitter search where you can really start to dig into those frequently asked questions, it's a great place to start. BuzzSumo, another great tool that helps you look at your competition. What questions are they responding to? What questions are they answering? And you can look at their blog just to get a really good feel for that. A lot of content that we're creating on our blog at Post Planner, for example, is spawned off of top questions, those frequently asked questions that we get asked all the time. So think about how you can answer those, how you can create content that becomes the solution to that problem. Another idea is consumer surveys. Now, I think we're all probably very familiar with the old school idea of surveys, and I would encourage you to flip the switch on what we know consumer surveys to be and really reframe how you're asking questions of your audience and get hyper specific in what you're asking around your company, around, maybe brand perception, a product or certain features. Let me just give you an example of this, dependent on exactly your industry or your line of work. Let's just say diet coach. Now, instead of asking what your audience's biggest diet struggle is, which is, a pretty broad question, right? Well, why not find out how your audience is consuming health and diet tips? So where are they doing this and how are they doing that? So for example, are they reading an article or are they watching videos on YouTube? Once you better understand this, you can create those micro moments. You can create that content that is specifically designed. So if it's abundantly clear to you that your audience is going to video to get their health and diet tips, and all of a sudden your strategy is clear. You know that you could create an entire video series around those diet tips and be able to serve up that content, not only in the way or the type that your audience is looking for, but it's going to give you a very specific insight into the social network that they're using to find that information and give you a lot better insight into where you should be spending your time as well. And then finally, in-store interviews, more designed micro moments for a local brand. But if you have retail locations, if you're a local shop, you've certainly seen that people are using their mobile phones in store aisles. You've seen them walking through, and they're doing research right then and there while they're in your stores. So talk to these people, get in touch with them, and find out, what are they seeking in those moments when they're standing in your store and they're looking on mobile. I'm certain you've done this. I know I have, where maybe I'm standing in Target and I'm looking at something and I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if this product is better than this product. And real quick, I'll do a quick search on A versus B to take a look at reviews, take a look at what other people are saying about that product if I haven't done that before I get to the store. So you want to find out exactly what your customers are seeking, and then how satisfied were they with the results that they found. And while you can use this on a local level, you could certainly use this online as well. So as people are searching for specific information around your business, did they find the right answers? And this is another great way for you to better understand if the content that you're providing is truly valuable to your audience. And then making empathy a rule. We've talked a lot about empathy, certainly as a company at Post Planner, but definitely within the marketing world and in social media. But, empathy to me is not something that you just overnight, it happens. There are certainly, when you look at companies, as you look at brands, many have emerged as far more empathetic, and certainly within your dealings, probably with their customer support team, you have felt that. You have felt that they actually get who you are as a customer, that they actually care. And it's been proven that, companies that are succeeding use empathy as a rule. Top 10 companies in the Global Empathy Index increased in value more than twice as much. That's huge, as the bottom 10, and generated 50% more earnings. So this goes back to understanding what the needs of your audience are, what they're looking for, and then truly putting yourself in their shoes, going that extra mile to not just provide an experience, but to provide that customer or customized experience, and one that truly gives them exactly what they were looking for at that exact right moment. So trend number 2, this one really excites me. There's just so much opportunity for all of us as companies to tap into wearable, expiring, and augmented content. And my guess is you're probably using one of these, but maybe not all of them. I'm not encouraging you to jump out there and start using all of them at once, but there are little ways that you can dip your toe into all 3 of those, whether it's wearable, whether it's expiring, maybe it's augmented. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about with all of these, well, just look at Instagram stories. So what happens with an Instagram story? It's shared for a certain amount of time, and then it's gone, right? So it creates that sense of urgency where your audience wants to know, they want to know what you shared. They want to take a look at your most recent story, and then they want to make sure that they haven't missed out on anything else. Geo filters on Snapchat, another opportunity. Snapchat spectacles. There's been, I think, a lot of talk talk around Snapchat spectacles and the pros and cons, and I think there's a very heated debate on both sides. But again, another opportunity that if your audience is on Snapchat, well, there you go. Augmented reality. We saw the huge popularity in how Pokemon took off, last summer, and how many people came back to Pokemon after years and years and years. And then how many people weren't even familiar with the original game, but incredibly excited to hop on to Pokemon as augmented reality, as the opportunity to get out and really interact and engage with others on a completely different level. And all of these are opportunities that your business can also take advantage of. So wearable, it's really exciting again to see what that forecasted value of wearable devices looks like, where we've come from since 2012, where we're headed to in over just the next year and a half. It's something that as the ability and the capabilities expand, more opportunity opens up to us as companies to really be able to tap into that. Now, I think if you're a marketer, if you're a smaller business, expiring content offers the quickest way to really start to create content that does tap into that fear of missing out, that taps into that need to keep up with what's going on with your company, what's happening. There's so many different ways that I see expiring content being used. Everything from a product launch to your latest blog post to maybe tips about the latest changes over on Instagram. So how to take advantage of expiring content, or how people are using video on Instagram. So a lot of different ways to not only interact, but educate your audience into how to use this these new updates or this type of content. And while Facebook remains the big boy on the block, the most used social media brand among all ages, it's interesting to see that among 12 to 24, so if this is your target audience, it's been overtaken by Snapchat, with Instagram close behind. And with Instagram having the massive updates that they've had and looking very much like Snapchat these days, my guess is that's going to continue to shift even further. So, you've really got to take a good look also at your demographics. Who is your target audience? Is it that 12 to 24? Is it 25 to 35? Maybe 35 to 45? And understanding what type of content they're looking for, and also what social networks they're interacting with you on. So that goes back to those surveys. It goes back to asking your audience. And we talked about this in a previous webinar where we shared a lot of details about how to do exactly this, how to ask your audience where they want to interact with you, where they're spending their time. So is it Snapchat? Is it Facebook? And is it expiring content? Do they even care about Instagram stories? We as a team just had a conversation about this in the last week about where we're spending our time in 2017. And it's always good to have that reflection based off of data and what has succeeded for you over the last year. So what are you going to do more of? What are you going to back off from that maybe didn't provide the results that you had hoped for? And then what are you going to add to that marketing mix in 2017? And Snapchat, Instagram stories, this could definitely be an area of opportunity for you if you haven't jumped in yet. So just a few ideas in how you could capitalize on these immediately. Do bite-sized videos about your company's vision. So what caused you to create the company that you started? Why did you do that in the first reason? Did you do it to scratch your own itch? That's the reason Post Planner was created. Our CEO, Josh Parkinson, said managing social media was a total frustration, and being able to find content that you could actually predict your results was impossible. And so thus, a Post Planner was born. So think about what's the reason, what's your why, what gets you out of bed every day, and how could you share that on Snapchat or Instagram? Do interviews with employees or influencers. I love to see these spotlights that companies like Sprout Social do with their influencers, where they do just a quick 2-minute video, not even that, across some of their social networks. And then they chunk those down into 10, 15 seconds for other social networks, where it's just a quick little snapshot of who this person is, what they do, and their value to the Sprout Social community. So think about how you can leverage those relationships and not only share those on Snapchat or Instagram, but across all of your social networks. Giving a behind the scenes look into your business. So what do you do every day and how do you do it? People love to be able to see exactly how you walk through a process or how you get from point A to point Z, within a particular program or strategy that you run on a daily basis. Offer your tips and advice. You have years of experience that you can be sharing. You can also tap into trending topics. So what's happening right now? What are we talking about that's relevant to your business and relevant to your audience that you could share your advice around? You could give your thoughts around, because as we know, there's a whole lot of noise across social media, but when you can offer your view, your feedback, your maybe future casting into what it's going to look like, because this huge update just happened, that's where people really want to engage with you. That's where they really get interested, when you come at it from a very different perspective. And of course, you can showcase your product, your service, and maybe it's something that you launched last year, but hey, it's evergreen content. You want to bring that all back around. Use Snapchat, use Instagram stories to put that into bite-sized, snackable content that tells that story of your product or service in a very different way for a very different audience. So just a few ideas that you can get started on immediately to get using those different pieces of wearable, snackable, and that short-term content. So trend number 3, combine science and social, something we talk about all the time at Post Planner. So 88% of marketers want to know how to measure their social media ROI. But get this, only 42% of marketers say they're actually able to measure it. So you can see the great divide. There's a huge divide between those that actually understand what they're tracking, what they're measuring, and what the true value of their actions are, as opposed to those that are just doing the same old thing every day, hoping for different results. Or worse yet, they're doing the same thing every day and have no idea what the results even are, because they never pay attention. They never go to their analytics, or they never go take a look at, their Facebook insights. And so they have no idea what type of content their audience is actually looking for. So a couple of ways you can get started with this. First of all, you want to measure your ROI, and we've gotten very specific. So I'm going to stay a little high level today, but if you want more specifics, we've got a couple of other webinars that we've really done deep dives into measuring your ROI and how to set your business goals. So if you don't know what you're working towards, going to be really hard to know when you actually get there, right? What does success look like for you? And at Post Planner, we use what are called OKRs, objectives and key results. So we take that big objective, that big, bold goal that we want to achieve, and then we break it down into those key results. So what does, first of all, what are we going to have to do every single day to achieve that objective? And then what does success actually look like? So we get very, very specific. And so I would encourage you that if you've set goals in the past and they were incredibly broad or almost a little ambiguous, where you didn't really know what it meant or how you were going to get there, that's where getting very specific is going to help you. And let me just give you an example of that. So let's just say you are growing your Facebook page and you set an objective of you want to double your Facebook growth in 2017. Well, what does double look like to you? Have you actually sat down and figured out metrics are that truly matter to you? More than likely, doubling your growth has a lot to do with engagement. So it's identifying what type of content you're going to share, back to figuring out what your best times to post are, all the way to figuring out the content that's converting, taking people over to your website, to your blog, to those landing pages where they can actually opt in. You've got a call to action. So you need to get very, very specific in what those goals are, what you're truly trying to achieve. Because once you can do that, then you can start measuring your return on investment. And then from there, you can start to improve tactics that aren't delivering real value. So measuring your ROI, never, I don't care what anybody has ever said, set it and forget it type of situation. You need to look at that data every single day, and you need to make decisions, hard decisions about, is this really working for me or is it not? I know as marketers, a lot of times, we create a piece of content, whether it's a visual, whether it's a video, whether it's a blog post, and we love it, right? You're like, oh my God, I have put my heart and soul into this, and it's the best piece of content I have ever put out there. And what happens? It's met with just that deafening silence of nobody sharing it, nobody engaging with it. So the data doesn't lie, but we as marketers, we can sure lie to ourselves, right? If we don't look at the harsh reality of how our content is performing. So you really have to look at, how is it doing? How is it performing? Is it delivering the results that I was looking for? Is it moving me closer towards my business goals every single day? And if the answer is no, then you need to ditch it. You need to ditch that strategy or that tactic that all you're doing is spinning your wheels and wasting your time on, because that's where we see that huge lack of productivity within our businesses, or we see that situation where at the end of the day or at the end of the week, you scratch your head and you're like, what the heck did I do this week? Because you're not getting any closer to your business goals. And it's simply because you're not taking the time to truly measure what's working, adjust on that, and then continue to iterate upon that. And if I haven't stressed it enough, it's being data driven, not just randomly throwing content out there and hoping that it's going to work, but analyzing and posting that proven content. And that's exactly what Post Planner, as I said, was created for. It's a way for you to get in there and find content that's done well over and over and over again, and then be able to go into your Facebook Insights and to take a look at how those posts actually perform. So you could see here 5 recent posts of ours, and I could have thought that, one of those was going to do far better than others. But what is that? That's just me guessing. That's me going with a gut feel and not actually looking at how did our reach do? Did we actually get the engagement that we were looking for? Did that content actually resonate with our audience? And that's where you can start to get far more specific in the type of content that you're creating. You can see that, wow, videos are outperforming everything else you're doing. So creating more video is a direction you need to head in 2017. And using Post Planner, it just simplifies your entire process. So we have, if you're not familiar with Post Planner, we have this area within Post Planner called Find, where it's popular content. It's content that we've gone out and we have found thousands of feeds across the web. It's everything from Facebook pages to Twitter feeds to RSS feeds, and we've bucketed them. We've put them into categories like quotes or engaging content or interesting or funny, so memes, and then business related or marketing related or top news. All of those categories that you've told us are important to your business. And what we've done is we go through and we find that content, we curate that content, and then we put it into a predictive format for you. So if you notice, every single one of these articles here has some stars right below it. And that is our star rating system. And that star rating system is your predictability. So it could have anywhere from 1 to 5 stars. And 5 stars says, woo, this content, we knocked it out of the park. Whoever wrote it knocked it out of the park, or posted it on Facebook. It just performed incredibly well. And so you're able to come in here and see all of this content that's already performed well, and based off of the fact that it's content that your audience would be interested in. It's content that is a type of content you're already sharing. You can share that with predictability, with thought, with data and science behind that, instead of just throwing that content at the wall and hoping that it sticks. So trend number 4, automation. We've talked about this, for as long as social media has been around. Automation, the good, bad, and the ugly, has been around as well. And I am a firm believer in the power of automation in moderation. So using it correctly to really support and then help you grow everything that you're doing. And Gleanster found that 79% of top performing companies have been using marketing automation for more than 2 years. So those companies that are getting predictable results at this point, those companies that are succeeding at social media, are using automation to support their marketing efforts. So here's a few steps for you, a few ways that you can use automation within your business immediately. First of all, automate your evergreen content. So we talked a little bit about, if you've been in business for any length of time, if you've been writing content, creating content, more than likely you have a lot of evergreen content sitting at your fingertips. Well, don't let that go to waste. Don't just let that be a situation where you post it out there, you tweet it out there once. Make sure you keep it in front of a whole new audience over and over again. And you can do that within Post Planner. There's so many great tools out there that allow you to do this, where you can recycle this content and get it out there in front of a whole new audience and at a completely different time. And I would encourage you, if you're interested in learning more about our recycle feature, or our Find feature that I just talked about, we have 3 terrific webinars that we've put together that specifically speak to the top 3 features within Post Planner: Find, Plan, and Post. And we'll get you those links. If you're interested, just tweet us, let us know, and we're happy to share so you can figure out how to use those specific features in 2017. Another one of my favorite tools is IFTTT, if this, then that. And it's just basically setting up automation between different social media network. So you're triggering something to happen. So if this happens, so in this example, if, let's say you share, if you post to Instagram, if that's your if, then what's going to happen? You're going to share that Instagram picture over Twitter. You're going to tweet that out. So you can create recipes like that with if this, then that. Again, we did an entire webinar around automation, around IFTTT, and shared a ton of recipes. So another great one for you to go back and take a look at if you're interested in learning more about the hundreds of thousands of different recipes that are available. And then finally, using automation to post at the ideal time. So it's going in, taking a look at your Facebook Insights, taking a look at your analytics and what are those best times to post, the best times to tweet, and then using automation to not only be able to free up your time so you can start to get in and engage and not feel married to your social network all the time, 24/7, but also to solve your time zone problems. So if you have an international audience, it might be difficult for you to tweet or post 24/7. And that's where automation really comes in handy, is where you can start to schedule those times, drop your content in, be able to get that content out there at your best times to post, and then continuously do that. So then you can come in and you can comment back, respond, ask questions, really get that engagement going. Trend number 5, social video. We've talked a little bit about video, but 2016, if 2016 was the year of live video, 2017, wow, watch out. It's just going to be an incredible year of more use by businesses and brands of live video. And it's interesting to see Brightcove found that social video generates 100% more shares than text and images combined. So a missed opportunity if you're not using social video within your business. 2017 is a great opportunity for you to dive in. And I love social video for so many different reasons. It takes us back to what we first talked about, creating that personalized experience where all of a sudden you can add further context to your content. You can let your audience get to know you in a deeper, more meaningful way, in a way that you hadn't been able to maybe through graphics or just a text-based conversation. It takes us back to that empathy as a rule, where you can empathize with the struggles, with the frustrations of your audience by becoming that solution to their problems. And then it takes that community and relationship building to a completely different level, to a place where it is that one-on-one conversation between you and your audience, where you're sitting there and you're saying to them, hey, I get ya. I get what's going on. I get what you're dealing with. And this is what I've created specifically for you, or this is what I'm doing, or this is how I'm doing it. And this is how I'm doing it and how you can do it too. So a lot of different ways that you can use social media or social video to create those relationships within your business. And Peg Fitzpatrick does such a terrific job with live video. This was one that she did with Adobe Spark recently, and she was helping them tease and then even promote a product launch. So they had added in a new feature within Adobe Video, and she was showing exactly how she uses it, kind of her tips into how to go about using it, and then also helping Adobe gain a little bit of extra exposure. So for you, there's several different ways that you can use this. You could tease something within your business. You could tease something that's upcoming. Maybe it's a webinar. Maybe it is a product launch, or You could tap into the power of influencers to be able to help you do exactly that, where they could go live on Facebook, they could go live on Instagram, they could do YouTube. So many different ways for you to tap into that social video. Mari Smith, another one. Obviously, we see Mari on live video all the time, whether she's sharing a quick or a practical tip, maybe it's actionable advice about how to use a new feature. This one, she was talking about Facebook Live video integrated into Messenger and just ideas on how you can actually use that within your business. It's a great way for you to take that next step with what you're teaching your audience. What are you training them to do? And what would they love to be able to do more of? They're just kind of stuck. Maybe they can't see it in their head. They can't visualize it. And you can help them take that next step by showing them the exact steps. And of course, all of this is with that purpose in mind. So is it in line with the goals of your company? Is it in line with your marketing goals? And is it supporting all of that other content that you're creating? So if they want to learn more about how to use Facebook Live video after your live video on Facebook, well, they can pop over to your blog, or maybe you've written an email about it. So make sure that you're not siloing your content or your strategies, that every single one of them is in support of the other. And I think Mari is an excellent example of that. So if you haven't started with live video, here's a quick checklist that we put together for you. First of all, know your topic. I can't stress this enough before you go live. How many of you, and I know if I could see you raise your hand, probably every single one of us would raise our hands, that we've seen people hop on Facebook Live with really no thought behind what they were going to talk about. They're stumbling, they're mumbling, they're just fumbling all over the place with their content. And you're like, bored, move on. It happens all the time. So you really want to know your topic. Focus on 3 main points. So focus on what those 3 key takeaways are going to be for your audience. What do you want them to leave learning or knowing by the time you're done? And then keep your answers short, concise, and always, always, always get to the point. So I like to make notes. I'm a note taker. I'll write out what my 3 main points are. I'll write out what those, kind of thoughts are, my answers, and I'll keep it very short. I'm not scripting. They're more just talking points, so I stay on track and I stay focused. And you really want to avoid complex industry speak, so no jargon. It confuses people. You lose people very, very quickly. So if you haven't sat down and thought about what is the jargon that we say all the time that maybe my audience wouldn't get, you want to sit down and think through that as well. And then write that outline like I talked about. Prepare if you need to. If you're nervous, if you're uncomfortable, talk it out. One of the ways I love doing it is getting in front of a mirror and just talk it out. If you don't like listening to yourself, this is going to be a good way for you to get comfortable with that. You can also record yourself. So many different apps that you can record yourself talking it out. And then knowing your audience, so speaking directly to their needs, going back to that customer journey, creating that personalized experience. And as we all know, you only have one opportunity to make a great first impression. So smile, relax, have fun. And more than anything, just be you. When you try to be something that you're not, that's when you get uncomfortable and nervous and you trip all over yourself. So when you are writing things out, when you're thinking about what you want to talk about, put it in your own words, put it in your own voice, talk it out so you're comfortable with it. And then when you get on live, that's going to reduce your stress factor greatly. But of course, going live on anything is always nerve-wracking when you first get started. So that's why practice will get you to a comfort level a whole lot faster. So, trend number 6, omni-channel strategy. I recently had the chance to talk about this at Inbound 2016, HubSpot in Boston. Their conference, huge conference devoted to inbound marketing. And I have been beating this drum for quite some time about creating more than just a multi-channel. We've talked about multi-channel strategies for a long time, but creating a omni-channel experience where creating that streamlined experience from not just one social network, but one device to the next as well. So ask yourself, how can you create that personalized and integrated experience within your own business? Well, 88% of consumers say this is why an omni-channel experience is so important to your business, that they are more likely to shop with retailers that deliver that personalized cross-channel experience. And if you're not completely familiar with what that looks like or feels like, let me give you just some examples. So my website, if you're not familiar with it, is very similar to the Post Planner brand, in the sense that whether you look at my website, whether you look at my social networks, anywhere you go, the look and feel is all very similar, as well as the messaging, the tone, what I'm talking about, so the type of content. Post Planners, same exact situation. So first of all, take a look at everything that you're putting out there in both the online as well as the offline. If you're a local business, you need to look at your local business as well. And is everything congruent? Is it streamlined? Can your audience just instantly tell that this is your Twitter account, or this is your blog, or are they scratching their head wondering, is this the same person? Because you haven't taken the time to create that branded experience, from your logo to your colors to your fonts to that messaging. And then those physical items is looking at all of those photos and the context around that, your videos. So all of the visuals that you're creating need to have that similar context around them, so that there is that very similar look and feel from one social network to one, website, blog. No matter how many different properties you have, it's all very, very similar. And so for you to be able to create this omni-channel experience, there's a few things that you want to do. Well, first of all, we're going to go back to our analytics, and we're going to find potential online customers who are engaging with us, who are already actively maybe talking about us, they're tweeting about us, they're sharing our content, and maybe we haven't been as active or as proactive as we should be with them. Now, we can also look at those opportunities that we lost. So look at potential customers that are abandoning your shopping cart, or maybe they're bouncing off of your landing page, or bouncing off of a blog post. What's going on there? Take a look at why that's happening and how you can offer more information. So a more specific solution, a more personalized solution that's designed around their concerns. And once you start to better understand, walk through how a customer interacts with you online, how they perceive your company. So listening is key to this, seeing what they're talking about, seeing what they're sharing. Then you can start to work to improve your interactions and that buying experience. Very, very difficult to improve something that you haven't taken a lot of time to really understand. So if you're not monitoring your mentions, if you're not looking at your Google Analytics to see how specific specific pages are performing, or how your landing pages or elements or features on your website are performing, it's going to be very difficult for you to improve upon that. And that's where understanding how your buyers interact, how your readers interact, how your subscribers interact, and where you're losing those opportunities is going to be critical to you making those changes. And then trend number 7. So finally, our final trend is organic reach. And organic reach is, something that has been a concern for years, but definitely been a bigger and bigger concern in 2016 with all of the updates to the Facebook algorithm. And if you're having a tough time, don't really know how to get your content seen by a larger audience, 2017 is going to give you a lot of opportunity. That is the good news. Now, 66% of marketers told HubSpot that improving SEO and growing their organic presence is their top inbound marketing priority. And I would be willing to bet that since they did this survey, it's probably even higher than that. As I said, it's only continued to become a bigger problem. And we hear it every single day at Post Planner that being able to get your content in front of your audience without having to pay to play is very hard and very frustrating. So a couple of tips. And if you haven't seen the ebook that we put together, we actually worked with Simply Measured and documented our entire growth over a year's time. So we documented 12 months and every step we took to increase our engagement by 193%. And the number one thing we found, quality content over the quantity of content was the most important factor when it came to growing our Facebook audience. And that would be the same across any social network within any of the content that you're creating. If you're posting interesting, engaging material, your audience is naturally going to be attracted to that and want to interact with you. And on Facebook, we know how that algorithm works. If your audience is interacting with you, Facebook perceives that to be that signal that, hey, that's valuable content. We're going to serve up more of that content to your audience. So making sure that you're sharing not only the right content, but with the right people at the right time is going to be terribly important in 2017. And another piece we found to be very, very important to increased organic reach is telling stories. Nothing new in the marketing world, right? I think it's just more personalized stories is the key in 2017. Listening to your audience and then sharing your experience, sharing what you have found to be true or what works or how you've solved that particular problem. And I'd encourage you that if you're nervous about sharing your story, if you're worried that people are going to judge, who cares? If you have an interesting story with original content, with original thoughts, that's truly going to help somebody else be able to do something better, that's going to change their life, that's going to inspire them, you need to share it. In fact, I would go so far as to say you have to share that with your audience. It's what you're there for, and it's what they're expecting from you. And my good friend Ian Cleary is a perfect example of this. Ian is a giver first. He just gives everything away, his knowledge, his experience, his know-how, and freely does it in all that he does. So if you're not connected with Ian, I would definitely encourage you to do that. He is a terrific example of what Givers Gain is all about. Being data-driven, I won't beat that horse any further. We've definitely talked about that here today. You've just got to stop guessing in 2017 what content people are going to respond to and start using the right tools that are going to help you find that scientifically proven content, and stop making up, just different ideas of what you think is gonna work, and find that scientifically proven content that's already been known to work time and time and time again. And a big part of that, finding that proven content, is finding that perfect content mix as well, utilizing different types of content so that you are speaking to those visual learners, you're speaking to the people that are, more apt to read text-based content or more likely to watch a video. So getting into the specifics of what type of content is equally as important, so that you're sharing that right type of content at the exact right time with those right people. So, to everybody that was here live today, thank you. Again, we've got a couple of things for you that we are offering today. First of all, we would love it if you would join the Post Planner community and come grow your business in 2017 with Post Planner, where we help you find that best content for your audience. It's scientifically proven, goes through our algorithm and tells you this is the type of content that you should be sharing. So it takes the guesswork out of the performance of your social content and helps you to stop wasting valuable hours. We know that time is very limited these days, and time is money. So stop wasting hours planning. Get in there, 30 minutes, an hour a week, and plan out your entire week, maybe your whole month. Everybody's a little bit different in how they go about planning that out. And then put your top performing content on autopilot. Recycle back through that proven content, or that engaging content, or that content that's outperformed everything else. And to help you do that, we are offering a limited time offer. It's valid through December 31st, so just a few short days. We're giving you our biggest discount of the year, which is 50%, our most popular plan. It's Love Annual for $54, so it's basically 1 year for the price of 6 months. And I'll tell you a little secret, because you're here live today. If there's a plan that you need outside of that, maybe our Guru plan, maybe you need more social networks, maybe you need a little bit different functionality, all you have to do is write our customer support team, tell them that Rebecca said that you can use the coupon PP Live for any of our plans, and we're going to honor that 50% off through 12/31. So if you want to test out Post Planner, if you've wanted to kick the tires, get a feel for what it's all about, you are not going to see this offer in the new year. I absolutely guarantee that. So go ahead, take advantage of our 50% off. Use that coupon PP Live when you sign up. Just head on over to postplanner.com. You'll see pricing for all of our plans and be able to see exactly, which one is going to work best for you. Now, Love is perfect if you're a social media manager, if you are a small business, maybe you're a local business, if you're an agency, if you're a brand enterprise, you're probably going to want to look at a little bit bigger plan. Like I said, if you've got, additional social networks. But for those of you that are managing your own social media, or just managing for a couple of other businesses, Love is your absolute best bet. So I look forward to seeing you over there. We also have a great giveaway for anybody that was tweeting. We're going to do a random drawing, and we will notify you via Twitter and via email. One lucky person is going to get a year of our Love Annual completely free, and that's just to those of you who have joined us live today. So be on the lookout for that as well. Thank you to everybody for being here today. We will notify that winner within the next 60 minutes, so you need to be paying attention to Twitter, and then we'll get you all set up. So have a wonderful rest of your week, a happy new year, and we look forward to seeing you in Post Planner.